Hello. For this month's artist showcase, we have Skyler Kelley, former vocalist of the band Beshiba and Florence local hardcore legend.
I wouldn't say all that.
Oh, I mean, I gave a little bit of information about you there, but why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Skyler Kelley, 27 years old. Like to play a little bit of music, skateboard, and kind of just doing solo music right now, here and there. Not really anything serious, but it's pretty much it. That and working.
I know here recently they just opened a skate park in Florence, and I've been you've been posting a good bit about that.
Oh yeah, man. Try to get out there about every day, if not every other day.
I haven't been out there yet, but I was thinking it'd be really cool to maybe put a show on out there.
I don't know if you've heard of like Flow Skate. I guess it's like a charity thing. They help get the park organized and get it all together and all that stuff. And but he was talking about possibly having some bands and stuff come out there soon once they get the I think they're putting up some new lights and stuff, so maybe they'll hook up some electrical.
Well, tell me kind of how you got started in music, some of your influences, what made you join your first band.
Yeah, growing up, like you said, I skateboarded a lot, had a lot of older friends and stuff through that, and they were like, one friend was the drummer for the high school. Like, we didn't have a marching band at the time. It was like a rock band. So I used to go around helping them out. Like on Friday nights, they'd play the football games. And then on the opposite side of that, I had another buddy who was into like local hardcore bands. And they put together something, oh man, I couldn't even tell you the year. Probably around 2008 or so, around the time I was in middle school. And started going to a few of their shows and introduced like bands like Slipknot and having these older friends, guys that kind of, had a little bit of taste in music. Unlike me, I just listened to whatever my parents had on the radio and shit like that.
Right.
Like a few local shows, doing that, and I just seen these guys doing it. They're having a blast. So I ended up traded some stuff and got my first guitar around 12, 13 years old. Played that thing for probably like 6 months. Didn't even have a tuner, didn't know how to tune it. I was just having fun, But it just kind of all branched out from there. Started trying to get some friends together that played, even though we were all pretty bad. But I think that's how it always is when you're young and first starting out.
I remember when I started learning to play guitar, me and a good friend of mine, we had 2 electric guitars, 1 Fender practice solid state amp that had 2 inputs, and we had no idea how to play anything. I remember the first time I really saw you in the music scene was In Hope We Return.
That was like this is my buddy Travis Patillo and Justin Gibbons. He was the original vocalist for In Hope, and he got out of I can't remember, like Lake City kind of area. And we joined up with him. He had like a drummer, and we had 2 vocalists starting out. And Travis, him and I played guitar, and we're kind of jamming together, trying to start some stuff up, and we're just kind of having a hard time because we weren't very outgoing at the time. And then,
right.
That was before, like, I don't know, I guess you had like the MySpace stuff, but it was like whenever Facebook was kind of first, I was getting into Facebook. So I really didn't have that grasp on like meeting other musicians and stuff so easily. You know what I mean? It was pretty much if you knew them, or it was like a friend of a friend that may have played bass. But we ended up getting a little band together, had a full lineup. Well, I say a full lineup. It was like 2 guitarists, 2 vocalists, and a drummer. No bass at all. Didn't even try to have a bass player for some reason. I don't know why we overlooked that. But we started jamming, doing that for a while, and we'd get people coming and going, drummers. Never could find anybody solid. So I don't know. We just so many lineup changes, and it's very hard to kind of get the ball rolling and get comfortable with people to start kind of experimenting and trying to kind of go out further and learn and grow. You know what I mean? So we kind of dealt with that the first 4 or 5 years. I'd say really all the way up until the band ended. Just trying to find dedicated people that mostly drums, dude. That's like the hardest thing to find. Just a solid drummer that's not going to bullshit you.
And it still is. I promise you.
I can imagine.
I remember hearing Broken Hands for the first time.
Yeah, see, now that was like the good portion of the band toward the end when Josh started singing, and we kind of had things a little bit more together then. It was a lot more organized, and we were trying to get there. That band was really just like a learning experience for a lot of us. Even our guitar player Ethan, who Travis had taught, and Travis picked up drums because we couldn't find a drummer. He was a guitar player teaching guitar, never played drums a day in his life. He started learning how to play drums. We brought Ethan in to play guitar, like lead guitar. And that's kind of that point of the band where Josh went to vocals. Our old vocalist moved to Texas. It's like it really started growing from there. And then, of course, you run into another speed bump once you get one hurdle out the way.
During that time, how was the music scene in Florence for you guys? Because, I mean, nobody was doing the type of music you were doing at the time. It was a hard rock, country, and then you had your more traditional metal bands, but not have a place in Florence.
Right, you're right. Yeah, and that's kind of where we struggled because, like, I don't know, I listened to a lot more like Chiodo, Sedate to Remember, The Devil Wears Prada, and stuff like that. So that was a lot of my influences in like pop punk bands, you know what I mean? Kind of, or even like Hawthorne Heights, stuff like that. And everyone around here kind of listened to thrash and more, I guess, traditional hardcore bands if they were a little bit younger, you know. But mostly around Florence at that time, it was all like thrashy kind of or deathcore kind of bands, I'd say. But so we always kind of stood out a little bit, and we weren't the greatest at that time as far as like being solid musicians. We were on the moving up. We were getting there, trying to get more solid and well-rounded as a band and just write better songs overall. But never really tried to fit and, like, I don't know, I guess kind of conform to what everyone else was doing. We want to do something a little bit different, a little bit funky, you know.
It's funny you say that because Cleansweep, you know, kind of falls in the same area.
Right, right. I feel like now it's kind of like kids are kind of going back to that time period of music, and it's kind of a little bit of nostalgia, and it's a little bit more well respected now. I'd say, like, you know, bands you get picked on listening to 10 years ago, you know, it's kind of accepted now and is considered a classic to some of these younger, you know, kids and stuff.
You know, after In Hope, of course, we have to talk about Beshiba. Beshiba was fucking awesome. I mean, not only the music, but what it did to the scene here. I mean,
yeah, it definitely pumped things up. I feel in that like 3-4 year span we were a band, but we started. You know, I started out doing that. I wasn't even in the band originally. My old roommate, he was playing bass with him, and I'd played with a few of the guys that were in the band. From like, I don't know if you remember Anatomy of an Ocean. Like a few of those guys were in Anatomy and stuff like that, and they were writing. And I went over there with them to practice one day, and they kind of had a guy lined up to sing for the band at the time, but he like fell through, and they had some type of altercation between them. So he never even like practiced with them, you know. So really, I am the first vocalist that did anything and actually contributed to the band. He was there, he was a part of the band, you know, to begin with. So it was like I booked him on a show at, I think it was 507 or Livewire at the time. And I'd booked him on a show before I was even in the band. They had the vocalist issue, and they knew I kind of, I guess, screaming vocals, whatever, you know, they knew I could do it, but I did not have the self-confidence to go out there or like the charisma as a front man. Never believed in myself. And then like that first show was just atrocious. It was terrible. And I like the band, I felt like they did good, but I did terrible. But you know, that's expected. I just kind of threw myself in there like 2 weeks before the show and told them I would do it. And I had all the intentions of coming home and like quitting, because I just like, man, that was discouraging as hell. And then to think back that if I had done that, it wouldn't have blossomed into what it became. You know what I mean? Ended up playing the show with them. Didn't end up quitting against my better judgment, I guess. Just kept going with it. And it was just really surprising because, you know, there was a while there we were playing, and then you'd see like 10, 12 kids show up, new faces. Then like they bring their friends the next time. And then next thing you know, we had like a warehouse show. It's one of the kids, his like dad's warehouse across town and stuff. And they're just like booking bands and stuff. So we were like, you know, it was awesome to see that and kind of get that support, and they're following us out of town. And it was just really cool. Everybody buying merch and seeing people show up to the shows in their band's merch and stuff like that. It was nothing I really had experience before with In Hope. You know what I mean? We had like a few little merch runs and stuff like that, a little bit of a following, but really In Hope got a following after Beshiba. because then we kind of did combined shows, and people kind of like both. They like the heavier stuff, and then they like the more melodic stuff, and Hope did, and it gave me a break too, because I like playing guitar a lot in the bands. And singing is one thing, but I realized very quickly singing is like, man, it's a whole nother ball game.
Oh yeah, it's very physically demanding.
Absolutely. And I never, realized it was to that extent. You get up there and sing or scream for 20 minutes, you're about dead, much less like 40, 45 for headliner sets.
I know when I was watching you guys, I was out of the music scene at the time,
Right.
but watching the live shows, it made me want to get out there and do it. Do you feel like you influenced any of the musicians around Florence to get out there and do what they love to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it would be like every other week or so, I would have kids I grew up in, I'm sure you're familiar with McBee, or McBee, I guess would be the proper way to say it. But I grew up there, which is like tiny little town, agricultural kind of town. And then like years later, I haven't even been there. I started going to a school here in Florence in like 9th, 10th grade. So it'd been a while since I'd even been around that area. Like my family and all still live there, but I got like kids that, like 10 years younger than I am, messaging me and stuff. Like they found my band and knew that I went to McBee and stuff like that. Not like I was huge or anything like that, or we were a huge band, but just the fact that it reached back, an hour away, 45 minutes away to my hometown. And like these kids are seeing this here, and it's kind of inspiring them to do something like that's what I hope to get out of it. Like a lot of people don't believe if you're not going to succeed at something, you shouldn't do it. But it's like, if you have it in your heart and you're passionate about it, I believe you should always do it just because of that alone, not even if it's going to pay the bills or not. Don't ever, sell yourself short because you don't think you can accomplish something.
The farewell show with Beshiba, I watched it on YouTube probably 10 times.
Yeah, that was, we had a good time. It was, like, we decided shortly before that to do like a permanent hiatus or whatever. Just we had a tour booked, and of course, I'm not trying to point the finger or hold a grudge, because I'm like, we're past it now. It's been years, but we had a drummer at the time, and he kind of threw us off. We had like a 2-month-long tour booked and things like that, and we were all just pretty much stressed and kind of at each other's throats at that point. I feel like, whether we wanted to admit it or not. So it was like a good time to, either go all in or just kind of take a break and get ourselves readjusted and see where it goes from there. You know what I mean? And I don't know, the Masquerade, we felt like we had played South Carolina so much as like during our time as a band that we really didn't even want to do a final show here. I mean, not that we didn't want to do it here, but like there's only so many times we played 507 live, and that's the only venue, and if we would have found something here or there that we knew we could get the same draw, of course we would have done something a little bit closer to home. But overall it still turned out great, and I think we still had a decent amount of people from like here make it out. But I say it was a nice little nail in the coffin, send her off.
I mean, it seemed like a really emotional show too, man.
Oh yeah, I'd say it. Oh man, yeah, that one was. But almost any time we played, it was pretty emotional for me. Just as emo as it is, I was just like going through a lot. Had like, everybody's got struggles and shit like that, and that was like my one kind of way to get that off my chest and get that shit out in the world. You know what I mean? Just let it go. Because I know there's other people that go through similar things, and that they can relate to the lyrics and think it gets them out there, keeps them from hurting someone or themselves, and they can get out there and beat on their friends and just have a good time, and enjoy the music, scream along with us, and just have a good time overall and let that out of them.
Ever a chance that we're gonna see Beshiba live again?
That honestly I couldn't tell you, because it's so hit or miss. Like, I don't know. I think we could. It's one of those things, like everyone's kind of long gone and doing their own things, which isn't, they're not like across the country or anything like that, but it's one of those, they got to have motivation. I feel like, where it's like me, I'm not really doing a whole lot, so I'm down, for whatever. If everyone else came to me and wanted to do it, I'd be on board. It was just kind of getting everyone else, and then figuring out who we're going to get to play what and do stuff like that, because we almost every time we played, we'd like switch it up and do like a smaller rip down set, and then we'd have like 2 guitars, bass player and drummer. But then you get the occasional, like our drummer he have something going on or something like that, and then it was just making things really tough.
Well, even if we don't see Beshiba anymore, I gotta say I'm really excited for your solo project.
Yeah, I'm trying to clean up some space on my computer, even though I've been saying that for like the past 3 months. I got to clean up some space on my computer because I want to do with the single I released, Seasonal Depression. I want to do like maybe like a 4 or 5 track EP with that, but just I don't know. I don't like to set expectations on myself. I just like to do it because I get randomly inspired and just want to go in here. Or I might come up with an idea and then that just kind of sparks something. I like to have it kind of happen natural. I hate to come in here and think like, hey, I'm gonna write 3, 4 more songs to go with this year so I could do a little, it's like whenever it happens, it'll happen. I ain't in a rush or anything. That's same with the SoundCloud stuff. It's just me like getting those ideas and just experimenting more or less and things to look back on. Cause I know a lot of my SoundCloud stuff, it's like I do all the production from start to finish and like literally never sang before in my life ever before doing the kind of wavy rap stuff. And I just started messing around with that, and that kind of inspired me to do the little bit more kind of live band feel with the Seasonal Depression thing, whereas the other stuff's a little bit more hip hop.
I kind of want to talk about Seasonal Depression too. What was kind of your inspiration to write it?
Just kind of trying to become a better person and acknowledging all the crappy things I used to do. And, not that I'm perfect now by any means, but just kind of, I think if you want to move on and grow from something, you got to kind of acknowledge it. And that, and it's a kind of a very moody, sad song. So I'm trying to kind of get away from that, the angry and the sad stuff, and write stuff a little bit more upbeat because I feel like that's kind of where I'm at in life now. It's not nearly as emotional and angsty, I suppose, as I was when I was younger.
Did you write all the music on that?
Yes. I had a buddy of mine, Evan Sexton from Greenville. He helped me out with a little bit of the production and stuff, but the vocals, guitar, bass, and he kind of collaborated with me on the drums, but everything else pretty much I had from the jump. He helped me mix and master it, and gotta kind of fine tune my vocals and stuff like that for me. But yeah, everything else was written and recorded by myself.
As far as plans for the future with this project, do you think you ever plan on maybe putting a full band together for it?
I would like to do at least like a live drummer or something like that, just so it's got a little bit more like human feel to it, I guess. Or I would like to ideally, because this stuff's really simple. I'm not like an amazing technical guitar player or anything. Like I write a bunch of simple things that people can kind of get in the groove and, it's easy to follow along with, you know what I mean? So I think it wouldn't be difficult to get like a live band set together. But again, just finding the people that's got the time.
If you could give any advice to new and upcoming musicians,
oh man, it's going to be times you're going to get discouraged and feel like it's never going to work out. You're never going to get that ideal across, that that song, the perfect song you're writing or whatever. But don't give up. And if you're working with people, always be understanding that everyone has opinions and your way isn't always going to be the right way. That's the biggest thing. Like, especially if you're starting a band or something like that, always got to be open-minded, and you got to be willing to work with people, or else it's not going to work at all.
Well, Skyler, man, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and kind of give everybody an update on where you are. I really hope to see you back in the music scene, man. I think I think you were built for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Tanner. That means a lot.
Absolutely. Well, we're about to play Seasonal Depression. Everybody, we're going to link Skyler's socials down in the description. Make sure you go like, subscribe, and we will see you next month for another artist showcase. This is Seasonal Depression.